The following mind tricks may not have involved deceiving stormtroopers into believing these weren't the droids they were looking for, but they did result in Star Wars lovers being entirely positive that they were watching physical actors strut into temples, iconic droids getting legitimately sucked up into a gigantic vehicle, or yet another fully digital location from the mind of Mr. Lucas. As this list will highlight though, there's often more to a Star Wars scene than what meets the eye, dear Padawan learners. So I am Gareth from What Culture Star Wars, and here are 10 more Star Wars scenes you didn't realize were tricking you. Number 10, Luke smashing up the hut actually wasn't all CGI. The Star Wars sequel trilogy may have seemingly embraced the practical side of things a little more than George Lucas's prequel set of flicks, but some epic moments are simply too difficult to achieve via anything other than beautifully crafted digital effects. Like the moment in Episode 8, The Last Jedi, that involves Luke Skywalker dramatically ripping down a hut containing Rey and Kylo Ren having a moment, for example. Only that impressive feat of force power wasn't a CGI creation at all, folks. According to the film's special effects supervisor Chris Corbold, a physical hut was put together like a jigsaw, with wires then attached to every single piece that eventually finds itself getting launched through the air. Said bits were then pulled by pneumatic jerk rams, creating a wonderful effect that tricked many into thinking they were watching another fantastic digital moment of madness. Those pieces were made out of foam, so no Mark Hamills were harmed in the shooting of this scene. Number 9, Darth Vader wasn't actually telling Luke he was his father on set. Do movie moments get any more iconic? For the longest time though, folks weren't actually aware that the likes of David Prowse underneath the Darth Vader helmet on set, and the majority of the other folks capturing this scene were completely unaware of the legendary twist that was set to arrive in theaters. That's because George Lucas apparently didn't trust Prowse with such a monumental secret. So in an effort to keep the truth from getting out early, only director Irving Kershner and Mark Hamill were told about the incredible "I am your father" bombshell. Prowse was instead told to utter the line "Obi-Wan killed your father," according to Hamill, with Mark then being told to react to the revelation like he'd just been told the actual shocking "Vader is your daddy" truth. James Earl Jones then provided the game-changing line in post-production, resulting in minds being blown across the globe in the wake of Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back's release in 1980. And even after finally being stunned by Vader's Cloud City comments, just about every fan on the planet still didn't realize that the footage they were watching didn't actually involve the physical Sith Lord telling his son he was his unexpected pops on the day. Now I've got a quick question for you. What is your favorite Star Wars line of all time? Is it "No, I am your father" or something else? Let me know in the comment section down below. Number 8, every line in Attack of the Clones was added in ADR. Speaking of being fooled into thinking the dialogue you were watching was recorded on the day it was shot, it turns out you were being tricked in every single scene that went down in Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. As revealed by none other than Obi-Wan Kenobi himself, Ewan McGregor, during a press conference for that Icons Disney Plus show in May 2022, the digital cameras George Lucas and co were shooting with back at the start of the 2000s caused a monumental headache for all involved. Massive umbilical cords were coming out of the back of said cameras, with these huge leads all connected to a big tent in the corner of the stage that scenes were being shot on. The fact this tent literally hummed and was ridiculously noisy eventually led to the unfortunate realization at the end of shooting that the humming sound was precisely the same frequency as the human voice. So the call was made to ADR every single piece of dialogue you ultimately hear in Episode 2. Those cutting-edge new cameras may have led to some stunning visuals, but they also robbed the finished film of any originally recorded lines and created a ton of extra work. Number 7, some of the Mustafar lava was taken from a real volcano eruption. George Lucas created some truly striking new worlds during his prequel trilogy, and though places like the buzzing city world of Coruscant and the watery clone home of Kamino obviously relied heavily on groundbreaking CGI, one particular prequel location wasn't actually as entirely artificial as you were fooled into believing. When it came to the lava planet of Mustafar that eventually leaves Anakin Skywalker looking like a crispy fried Sith, Lucas had the fantastic idea of using some real-life volcano footage to give the scene more of a realistic feel. The stratovolcano in question was Mount Etna in Italy. Some of the team was sent out to capture that genuinely exploding mountain, and those fiery moving images were then used as the basis for the digital volatile bursts of lava seen throughout the dramatic duel on Mustafar. It also may come as a bit of a surprise to hear that a gigantic miniature was also used to bring this epic scene to life. In fact, according to Paul Duncan's The Star Wars Archives 1999 to 2005, this was actually actually the biggest miniature in Star Wars history at the time, at a staggering 18 feet wide, 33 feet long, and 7 feet high. Number 6, Luke Skywalker was actually wearing Levi jeans during all of A New Hope. Back when George Lucas decided to finally kick off his epic space opera a long time ago, the iconic filmmaker wasn't blessed with the massive budgets he'd eventually get to play with in later entries. So the clever director and those tasked with helping him create this galaxy far, far away had to think outside the box to trick folks into believing they'd been transported to the worlds of Tatooine and Yavin 4. Instead of creating a brand new pair of sci-fi farm boy trousers for Mark Hamill to don as Luke Skywalker in his first Skywalker Saga episode, for example, the costume department had an ingenious alternative in mind. As noted by the actor on X a few years back, a simple pair of Levi blue jeans were completely bleached out before having the back pocket stripped away. And just like that, a pair of Skywalker bottoms were born. So the next time you fancy cosplaying as this young Jedi in training, at least now you know how to achieve half of the budget Skywalker look. Number 5, the secretly CGI Anakin Skywalker during Order 66. This list has already looked at a few moments within this magnificent Star Wars franchise that were far more practical than folks initially assumed. Now it's time to take a closer look at a scene that boasted some ridiculously subtle and easily overlooked CGI. Many are probably privy to the fact that clone troopers seen throughout the prequels were largely all CGI creations. But did you know that those digital soldiers were also secretly joined by a CGI Anakin Skywalker as they wandered into the Jedi Temple together in Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith? Star Wars VFX artist Juan Luis Sanchez revealed this shocking fact on X last year, noting how they simmed the overhead shot of a digital Anakin leading the 501st Legion into the place where many a youngling was about to be cut down. Remarkably, while Sanchez would go on to sim the shot a few more times just to make sure, they were actually able to capture the shot of Skywalker's cloak naturally and dramatically blowing in the wind within the first 1 or 2 takes. You may have assumed this was the real Hayden Christensen marching around Coruscant during this awesome overhead shot, but you were simply being tricked. Number 4, Force Perspective was used for a sequel sandcrawler. As already noted, miniatures have brilliantly been used to add impressive detail to this galaxy far, far away for decades, with everything from Mustafar to Tatooine being partly created through smaller practical sets over the years. And these sort of awesome miniatures were still going strong as recently as during the shooting of the final Skywalker Saga flick, with the fantastic production designer Kevin Jenkins using a classic Force Perspective trick when it came time to throw another sandcrawler into the galaxy far, far away. For that moment which pops up during Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker's final scene, Jenkins and his team made a 5-foot sandcrawler before traveling across the Jordan Desert to find the right location to film the gorgeous creation. The extras playing Jawas were then shot from a precisely calculated distance further back from the small Tatooine vehicle, with the crawler also being placed on a dressed table at height for the shot. So while it may look like the team had either digitally created or built a gigantic familiar sandcrawler for this sequel scene, it was actually a brilliant old school trick that brought this machine to the screen, just like they did in the old original trilogy days. Number 3, green screen was secretly used in the desert. Keep it in the desert for this next entry. Poe Dameron actor Oscar Isaac was just as surprised as you will no doubt be when he learned about this strange Rise of Skywalker filming secret. Despite noticeably being very much on location during the scenes which took place on Persana, Isaac explained on Late Night with Seth Meyers how he was shocked to find that J.J. Abrams had still opted to bring a little small stadium of green screen to set. The scene that required said green screen in the middle of a very real desert was the one that saw the gang battling with First Order troopers on a speeder. According to the director, he opted to combine green screen with this real-life location for the shoot because of the fact they just wouldn't have been able to capture the specific way the light hits the sand, the way things move, or design the imperfections that come from shooting at the real-world spot on a computer. Looking back, you'd definitely be forgiven for thinking this pulsating sequence was shot entirely without a green screen in sight. But what you're actually watching, at some points at least, is a seamless combination of real-life elements and digital wizardry. Number 2, the Rebel pilot actually took out the Death Star in shorts. Taking out a Death Star can be sweaty work at the best of times. Now add in the fact that these Rebel Alliance taking out a space station moments was shot during a record-breaking heatwave in Great Britain, and you have the recipe for some boiling X-Wing pilots. And it was this scenario that ultimately led to the majority of the brave freedom fighters seen on screen in that dramatic Episode 4 A New Hope sequence actually secretly filming their scenes in only half of their costume. That's right. Though it may appear as though the likes of Luke Skywalker, Wedge Antilles, and the rest of the rebels were soaring through space in their full orange flight suits, according to that man again, Mark Hamill on X, this Death Star attack was actually executed whilst the majority of the actors was simply sat in their shorts. The fact these cockpit moments were only filmed from the chest up helped successfully fool innocent audiences into believing they were just watching some brave, fully costumed up heroes save the galaxy. Little did they know. At number 1, R2 didn't actually get sucked up into the sandcrawler. Bringing this list to an end with another moment of sandcrawler trickery, the world was first introduced to these massive vehicles and their Jawa drivers back in 1977's first Star Wars flick. And it was during that film when poor little R2-D2 found himself being sucked up into one of the huge Tatooine machines pretty early on. But this loyal droid didn't actually find himself being pulled up into a pipe when the time came to shoot this specific original trilogy occurrence. Instead, yet another old-school movie-making trick was used to create the brilliant visual of the astromech flying into the sandcrawler. Rather than attempt to yank the practical droid into that pipe on the day, C-3PO actor Anthony Daniels would eventually reveal via StarWars.com that the droid was dropped out of it past the lens and onto some nearby padding out of shot. And after all that, George Lucas and co simply reversed the film, masterfully tricking viewers into thinking they just witnessed R2 be swept up into a mechanical beast. And that is our list. Know of any other Star Wars scenes that people didn't realize were tricking them? Well, let us know all about them in the comments section right down below, and don't forget to like, share, and click on that subscribe button while you're down there. Also, if you like this sort of Star Wars stuff, then please head on over to whatculture.com and find some more fantastic articles just like the one this video you're watching right now is based on. I've been Gareth from What Culture Star Wars. May the Force be with you as always. Have yourselves the best of days, and hopefully we'll see you soon. Bye bye!